Assalamualaikum dear students. I hope you all will be safe and sound. Due to the prevailing tense situation, I will be giving you online lectures. This lecture on reading comprehension is the first one among the forthcoming series of lectures. Reading is an interactive process between readers and the text. Reading comprehension involves reading a text and understanding its meaning. Reading skills required for comprehension include finding the main idea of the text. As we all know that every text is based on a main idea, and usually the main idea of the text is present in the introduction and conclusion paragraphs. The second reading skill that is required for comprehension includes the drawing logical conclusions. Mostly texts are open-ended, that means they are subjective in nature. Readers infer meaningful conclusion as per their understanding and comprehension skills. And the third reading skill that is required for readers to comprehend perfectly or efficiently is that the readers should be able to identify the difference between facts and opinions in the written in the text, and the readers should be able to differentiate between the opinions and statements supported by the evidences. The types of reading skills that we are going to study today include scanning, skimming, intensive reading, extensive reading, and speed reading. Scanning refers to reading a text rapidly for locating specific piece of information. You could specify the clue words to answer certain questions that are asked to you at the end of the text, and you can skip the irrelevant details as well. And now comes how can you scan the relevant text. You can read numbers, symbols, and keywords which are relevant or more close to the questions that is being asked to you, or you can look for the bold, italicized words, or even words with different fonts, sizes, and colors. And then you can look for text organizers, like we see that in the paragraphs we see the organization like firstly, secondly, and lastly. That could show you that what is if somebody asks you what is the main idea, so maybe somebody has written the word like mainly, so you can actually go to the specific word and go to the specific clue or question that is being asked to you. And the examples include scanning a telephone book, where you scan a name, and then you can scan a dictionary for finding a specific meaning of a word. And then even if somebody asks you from a historical perspective, if somebody asks you that what is the date or the birth date of somebody, you can look into it as well. Skimming is used to find the main idea of the text. Readers usually skim when time is short or when they need to understand the general ideas. So it occurs at 3 to 4 times the normal reading speed. So it is more, its reading speed is more because you usually skim the text when you are short of time and you have to just figure out if this text is relevant to what you need, or because sometimes it happens that you are supposed to work on an assignment and there are a lot of articles that are relevant to you. So just to check out if this is worth it to your project or not, you just skim through it and you figure out if the main idea is relevant to what you are looking for. And now comes how to skim a text. So you could do is you could read the title and subtitle, then you can read the headings and keywords. That could be keywords could be in the form of bold, they could be italicized, they could be numbered, it could be anyway. And then you can read the first sentence of each paragraph, because as we have all studied, the first paragraph is basically the topic sentence in which it gives away the main idea that is going to be discussed in the section below. And then you can read the first and last paragraphs, that are the introduction and conclusion paragraphs, because it actually sums up the main idea of the text, or you could call it a crux of the text as well. The other types of reading include intensive reading and extensive reading. It is intensive reading is done when once you have figured out by skimming that this topic or this text is relevant to the area of your interest, then you read the text for obtaining detailed information from it. You read it word by word, and then you look at the details, what are the everything about it, and you look at the themes and everything. And the aim of intensive reading is to understand the text in depth. For example, whenever you're preparing for the exams, you look into the minute details which are given in the that are given in the textbooks. On the other hand, then comes extensive reading. It is used to read for pleasure, and the aim is to understand the overall meaning, and it is usually done in the free time, which means that, for example, if you read novels or magazines or newspapers, the aim is not to read it in depth, just for the sake of pleasure, for the sake of entertainment purposes. And in that kind of text, like you're reading novel, you can skim the text as well. Let's suppose if there are too much details about the environment or something like that, you can skip those paragraphs and then you go into the main plot of that story, so that works as well. Slow, average, and fast reading speeds develop simultaneously through practice. Slow reading speed means that you read 200 to 300 words per minute, and it is used when the material you are studying is difficult, when you need to, when you're required to do intensive reading, and the comprehension is 80 to 90%. On the other hand, average reading speed means that you read 250 to 500 words per minute, and it is used for reading newspapers and like I told you earlier that it is used for extensive reading, in which you read for the sake of pleasure or entertainment purposes. The comprehension level is 70%. Fast reading speed means that you read 800 words per minute, and it is usually this speed is usually done when you're skimming something, and skimming is a type of reading skills in which you require the highest rate of the speed, and the comprehension is 50%. Another main subtopic that it can be covered under reading comprehension is presse writing. Presse writing, the word presse is a French word that means precise, in which you shorten the text in your own words, and it is a short version of a speech or a piece of writing, or you can call it as it's a type of summarizing that consists of exact production of facts with logic, organization, and emphasis of the original text. It means that the way the author has organized his text, when you are writing the same text, you are going to use the same order mostly, and with the it could be on the basis of emphasis and on a chronological order. It could be any basis, and if you change the order, it should be on certain criteria. Along with it, whatever the facts are mentioned that are very important, you can mention them in it, and besides this, you should skip the irrelevant details. When we talk about the characteristics of good press, you can call it 5 C's, and it consists of completeness, conciseness, coherence, correctness, and clarity. And if we talk about completeness, what does it mean is that it should contain your press should contain all the major points of the text. You should not be skipping any major details. However, you can skip the irrelevant details that without which the main idea of the text could be clarified. On the other hand, the next one is conciseness. Conciseness means that the length of your passage should be one third of the length of the original passage you are summarizing. And the third point is, or the third characteristic of a good passage is coherence. That means unity of thought. How can we have it? Unity of thought is that the ideas in the sentences that you are writing while writing a passage should be well knit. It means that it should have well knit structure. One idea should be leading to the next idea, and there should be transition markers that we have already studied. For example, furthermore, moreover, things like that, which could show the connection between the last idea you have presented and the next idea. Then the fourth characteristic of a good presser is correctness. Correctness is basically when you should be vigilant about the idea that you should have a grammatically correct structure along with correct spellings and vocabulary to convey the idea. So it should not have a way then, and you should try that the same vocabulary should not be used as it is used in the textbooks. So you should actually use a different vocabulary items to convey the same thought, and you should keep an eye on the fact that sometimes just by changing the word, sometimes the meaning is changed, so you should find an appropriate synonym of the word or replacement of the word that is being used in the original text. So it means that your text should be grammatically, semantically, it means by meaning wise, and grammatically and syntactically correct. And the last characteristic of a good presser is clarity. It means that it is very obvious that when you're going to have a unity of thought, your ideas should be clear. Ideas should be expressed distinctly, which means that whatever the main points that you're discussing, it should have when it's going to have a connectivity and it should have a unity of thought. Then the reader who is going to read your essay is going to come up very idea that once he reads it and he gets to know that what is the original text about. So most of the times, why we read a essay instead of a text? Most of the times when we are short of time and we have to check if this topic is relevant to or not when we have to skim, so we use presses. So when somebody has is short of time and he is reading your press instead of the original text, then it should be clear that your idea should be correctly placed and it should be clear and very simple, so that the person who is reading it should not find it difficult to comprehend whatever you have written. Now comes the procedure of press writing. How can you begin the essay writing? First, you should read the text. And how should you read the text? First, you should just skim the text and you can just get the overall main idea of the text and what is the overview or general tone of the text. How can you identify the main idea? Like in the previous slide, I just explained that usually the main idea is present in the first paragraph, that is the introduction paragraph, and the last paragraph, that is the conclusion paragraph. So if you just read the overall text, just go through it once, just skim through it, and then you just read the main idea in the first and the last paragraph, because usually the main idea is given in the introduction paragraph since it's an overview of whatever is written. So once you have identified the main idea, the main theme on which the text is written, and you have identified the tone, how can you identify the tone? When after you have skimmed the text, now it's time for you to do intensive reading. You should read it in detail, and when you're reading in detail, you can identify if the writer, what is the tone of the writer. Is it satirical, humorous, or is it serious, or what kind of tone is it? What is the purpose of author? Is it persuasive? Is he arguing about something? Is he convincing about something? And when you are reading in detail, you're going to realize that every paragraph uh, shows one key point. So what you can do is you can just take a rough draft and you can read one paragraph, and then you can identify, usually the main idea of that paragraph would be written in the first sentence, that is the topic sentence. So when you will go through the paragraphs, you would identify one key point per each paragraph. So when you're writing the outline, you can make the point of each paragraph per one point, and then you can eliminate irrelevant details. The irrelevant details could include repetitions, it could include more than one examples or illustrations, it can include anecdotes, stories, it can include adjectives, it can include all those abbreviations, contractions, and slangs which are not necessary to convey the main idea. Then you can even remove the quotations, idiomatic expressions, and you can even ignore or eliminate the flowery expressions. And if there's some irrelevant comparison between it, which is not necessary to convey the overview of that text, you can eliminate it as well. Once you have skimmed, scanned, and done intensive reading, you can clearly realize and you can make an outline of the key ideas and the sub-points that you have gathered through all the text. And then when you go through those key points, you're going to realize that if there is some point that is missing, you can add those points into it. But remember one thing: whenever you're jotting those points, it should be from author's perspective. You should not be using first person. In fact, when in the text, when somebody has written I, since it is not your job to do the interpretation or something, you just have to give the perspective of whatever the author has written. So you can, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to change the first person pronoun into the third person pronoun, that the author says this or something like that. But you cannot say like according to my viewpoint, because essay writing is not something in which you're supposed to do critical analysis or something like that. It's just like you have to summarize it. So you should avoid giving your own viewpoints. You just have to narrate the author's perspective or the author's point of view. Then when you're writing the essay, you should mention the name of the article, its author, and the source from which the article was taken. Either it's a part of a book, either it's a part of a journal, or either it's taken from a website, or whatever is the source. Then you can, once you have outlined the key points and the sub points, and they are now in a sequence, so now you can make a draft. It could be many drafts. You can write first draft, and then you can revise it, then you can make second, and then the final draft. So now it is time for you to write the draft in your own words. But remember, when you're writing the draft in your own words and you are out, there should be a unity of thought. When you're relating those key ideas and subpoints, you should use transition markers and some text organizers in which one idea should lead into the other. It should not seem like an incoherent thing. So it should have cohesiveness and coherence in it, which means that the one idea should be leading to the other and should have look like one paragraph or one text. And remember, whenever you are writing a pressy writing, it doesn't mean that if you're going to use complex vocabulary, is going to make more sense. You should just simple as and concise sentences that whenever a person whoever is reading a pressy doesn't have much time, that's why he's not reading the proper text. So what you can do is you can use simple and concise language in your text. So whenever a person is reading, he doesn't need more time to comprehend whatever you have written. And then you should change the direct speech into the indirect speech, that I have already mentioned to you, that you have to change the narration of the text as well. And the more important thing is that you cannot change this tense of the sentence, the text. For example, if the original text is written in the first present tense, then you are supposed to write that the present in the present tense as well. The skills required to write a good press include good concentration, good reading ability, good comprehension, good analyzing skills, good summarizing skills, and good command on language. What does it mean by good concentration is that whenever you are reading something and you need to make a pressy out of it, you need to have intensive reading of it. And unless you don't understand the main context and the main theme or main idea that is written in it, it is not possible without having concentrated reading. So you should have a good concentration, you should have a keen observation, and you should scrutinize, investigate the text in depth. So that's very important. And a good reading ability means that you should be able to comprehend. That goes with the next point as well, that you should have a good reading speed and good comprehension skills, due to which you can understand better and you can find the different links as well in between them. Then comes the good analyzing skills and good summarizing skills. So whenever you have to draw a major idea, major point out of a whole paragraph, let's suppose, then you need to have a synthesizing and analyzing skills and then good summarizing skills as well. So 3 to 4 pages paragraph is when it is shortened into 1/3 of its length, then you need to have good analyzing and good summarizing skills. Secondly, in fact, and the last thing is, but it's very important, is that you should have good command on language. What does it mean by having good command on language? It means that you should have a command on your grammar. Since when we studied in the first topic, it was based on the communication skills. When you are not able to properly encode your message, nobody is going to ever decode the message as you want to convey it. So if you want your message to be conveyed as you have encoded it to your readers, then you need to have a proper grammatical structure, proper vocabulary, proper spellings, and proper syntactic structure. Everything has its advantages and its purpose. So, like other types of writing, like letter writing, memo writing, it has different purpose and different advantages. Similarly, press writing has also some advantages, because one of the advantages that is very pretty much visible is that it can develop your critical thinking ability and it can enhance your reading and writing abilities as well. How can it develop your critical thinking? It can develop your thinking because when you are going to figure out the logical connectors between the text, when you are going to use your own ability to summarize the text, when you're going to use your own vocabulary, grammatical structures to synthesize whatever is being written into a short contracted form, it will enhance your abilities as well. And then definitely when it can enhance your condensing and synthesizing techniques as well, because it's not very much very easy at the first time to condense or synthesize an idea into a sentence or a paragraph into a sentence. So it all comes with practice. When you're going to practice writing it, and first time it would be difficult for you, but with the passage of time, it would get easier for you to condense those ideas into a shorter form. Then, another advantage of learning press writing is that it develops your ability to draw conclusions, as well as it helps you in the times when You do not have time to read the long material and you have to remember the essential details. So what you can do is you can just read the essay and you can have an overview of whatever is being written in the text, and then the next time when somebody is going to ask you what was written in that essay, what was written in that article or something like that, you don't need to read the whole article to remember what was written in it. You just, what you need to do is that you need to figure out, or you can need to read the just the essay that you have written, and you're going to have all those main points that you've already written. And since you then it also develops your grammatical skills and vocabulary as well, because how is it helpful in vocabulary building? Because it is discouraged to use the same vocabulary that is used in the original text. So when you're using different vocabulary to convey the same idea or same thought, then it will enhance your vocabulary, and you will come to know that how you can use this vocabulary within your sentence, and how it conveys the same meaning. And similarly, when how you can improve your sentence structure just through practice. So when you're going to practice synthesizing the original text, it will improve your grammatical skills as well and vocabulary building as well. And how can you enhance your vocabulary, and how can you use different vocabulary? You can use synonyms, or you can use one word substitutions as well. And this is very clear that when you're going to keep using synonyms, and when it's very common that when you need to add something in your vocabulary, what you can do is you can just use the word for once, and then in different instances use the word more than 3 to 4 times, and then it will become a part of your vocabulary as well. That is the end of the lecture for today. The practice reading comprehension passages will be shared with you on Edmodo and Microsoft Teams. We will have 1 hour live interaction session tomorrow on Google Meet. And after you will practice the exercises given to you on Edmodo and Microsoft Teams, we will have a formal assessment on Socrative by the end of this week. And I will be sharing the login IDs and the room number of above mentioned tools on WhatsApp group of each section. So, and and the formal assessment on Socrative would be graded as well, and it would have specific time. Thank you.